Now, what is the abiotic component? Abiotic component is all the non-living components of our ecosystem. And geothermal energy releases essential minerals and nutrients from the Earth's crust into the ocean. Humans, we consume both herbivores, such as we consume goat meat, sheep meat, okay, and we also consume carnivores, like we eat different kind of seafood, different kind of fish, and most of the fishes are carnivores. Welcome back to B2S Academy. Today we will look into the chapter of ecosystem. Now, what is an ecosystem? The term ecosystem was coined by A.G. Thomson, and the father of ecology has been referred to E.P. Odom. Okay. Now, what is ecosystem? To understand ecosystem, we need to understand the various spheres that make up our Earth. One is the atmosphere. That is all the gases that are present in and around the Earth. Another is the hydrosphere. All the water bodies present in our planet. Marine plus freshwater plus polar ice caps. Okay. Atmosphere is composed of the major component of atmosphere is nitrogen, N2, followed by O2, then CO2, then H2O, that is a vapor, okay, and other gases such as argon, etc. Another sphere is the lithosphere. The rocks, soils, etc. The terrestrial part. And all these three spheres have a habitable region where plants and animals can thrive and increase their population. And that habitable region, is known as biosphere. All living components of Earth, starting from microbes to large plants and animals, biosphere. So, ecosystem is the structural and functional unit of our biosphere. Okay, structural and functional unit of biosphere. Now, you can see that since ecosystem is the structural and functional unit of biosphere, we can say that all kinds of ecosystems make up our biosphere, and since biosphere encompasses atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere, that is air, water and soil, so ecosystem also has got two parts. One is the abiotic component and the other is the biotic component. Now what is the abiotic component? Abiotic component is all the non-living components of our ecosystem. Okay, and biotic components are the living parts of our ecosystem. So under abiotic component, we have sunlight. Sunlight is the most important abiotic component of our ecosystem. It is the source of energy that drives our ecosystem, and without sunlight no life would have been possible on earth, and hence without sunlight biosphere would not have existed. Okay, so due to sunlight biosphere exists, and as a result ecosystems exist, and the biotic components also exist due to sunlight. Next is temperature. Now temperature is also very important for the survival of life, because if the temperature gets extremely low, what we find in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, the temperature year round remains sub-zero. So in those areas you will find that there is very little biodiversity. Almost no plants exist and very few animals exist, encompassing about hardly 10 or 20 species at most. Okay, not even 20 species if you look at the polar regions. Okay, so most of the biodiversity is found in regions where the temperature ranges between 15 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. That is the temperate regions and the tropical regions on either side of the equator and within 30 to 60 degree latitudes. Okay, in those regions you will find maximum biodiversity, because life in order to thrive on our planet or in any planet requires a fixed range of temperature. If temperature exists above 35 annually, as we find in various hot deserts of our planet, such as the Sahara, the Gobi Desert, the Thar in India, the Kalahari, there also there is very less plant life and very less animal life. Biodiversity greatly reduces. So temperature is a limiting factor for life. Okay, temperature is a limiting factor for life. The temperature in which maximum biodiversity is found is known as optimal temperature for life, that is 15 to 35 degrees Celsius. Sunlight is also another limiting factor, because this sunlight is essential for photosynthesis. In deep dark caves where there is no sunlight, you will not find much plant life or almost no plant life, because without sunlight no photosynthesis is possible, and without photosynthesis no life is possible. Okay, so inside dark caves again very less biodiversity. In marine ecosystem or in freshwater ecosystem, there are two zones. One is the photic zone and another is the aphotic zone. Photic zone is the region of water up to which sunlight exists. There you will find coral reefs and a myriad of animals. Okay, most of the biodiversity of the oceans is found in the coral reefs. Even in rivers, very deep rivers, most of the fishes and aquatic animals are restricted in areas in the photic zone up to the depth to which sunlight penetrates the water. Below that becomes the aphotic zone or the dark zone. And between the photic zone and the aphotic zone, there is a transition zone in the ocean known as the twilight zone. If you cross the twilight zone, there is a zone of eternal darkness known as the aphotic zone. It is deep part of the ocean. Water is very cold over there with no sunlight. Animals over there are bioluminescent. However, in deep sea, you will find a plethora of animals with rich biodiversity. Why? Because as you go deeper and deeper into the ocean, you will find hydrothermal vents that channel geothermal energy from the Earth's core to the surface, and that provides energy for life to thrive even without sunlight. And geothermal energy releases essential minerals and nutrients from the Earth's crust into the ocean, forming a hot dilute soup over there. Okay, and though rest of the ocean water is cold, at the sea floor the water is warmer because of hydrothermal energy, of geothermal energy. Due to those hydrothermal vents that channel out geothermal energy, a lot of minerals, nutrients enrich the ocean water, making life possible over there. So this is an exception, but still sunlight plays as a limiting factor towards life itself. Next is water. Without water, no life is possible on earth. Without liquid water, I should say, because water in the hydrosphere comprises the frozen polar ice caps as well. So, liquid water is essential for life. Even our bodies is 70% water by mass. Our cells are fluidic, it is filled with water. Major component of our blood plasma is water. So water acts as a universal solvent where almost every chemical reaction that is essential to sustain life can be performed, can be completed. All chemical reactions that are essential for life occurs in water-based mediums. And in the chapter of evolution, we have seen that life itself originated in the hydrosphere. So without water, life could not have originated on earth. Next is gases, mainly N2, O2 and CO2. Without nitrogen, proteins could not be synthesized because nitrogens are an essential component of amino acids. So without nitrogen, proteins could not be formed, and without proteins, life could not exist on earth. Also, nitrogen forms our genetic material. Okay, they form the nucleic acids as well. The nucleosides and nucleotides are nitrogenous bases. Next is oxygen. Without oxygen, respiration could not occur, and without respiration, no energy can be formed in our bodies. ATP synthesis could not take place without the presence of oxygen. So oxygen is necessary for energy production and sustenance of life, and carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. It is one of the most important of all raw materials present in photosynthesis. Another abiotic component that is important are soil minerals. Soil minerals are essential for plants in order for them to survive. and without plants no life can occur. So soil mineral is also an important abiotic component. But the most important of all abiotic components is sunlight or light, temperature, water and gases. These four are absolutely essential. Soil minerals are not that much important, but these four are absolutely essential. Now, if we come to the biotic factors. Now, what are the biotic factors? Biotic components are producers or autotrophs. Green plants, cyanobacteria, algae, they are all producers. They can be chemoautotrophs like some bacteria which breaks down complex chemicals in our soil and water and derives energy from the breakdown of those complex chemicals into simpler ones. And another is the photoautotrophs, the green plants and cyanobacteria, those of which have chlorophyll in them and can photosynthesize, they are photoautotrophs. Next component are the consumers, they are heterotrophs. They can be plant eating or herbivores, flesh eating or carnivores, and both and animals, not both, I should say animals which consume both plants and animals as food, the omnivores. Okay, herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. Herbivore like deer, cattle, etc. Carnivores like the wolves, lions, tigers, and omnivores are like humans and bears. Okay. Consumers or heterotrophs, they cannot produce their own food via photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. They depend on other life forms to sustain their bodies and they consume other living things, okay, to sustain themselves. For example, herbivores consume the producers. They consume the producers, so they are dependent on the green plants. Mainly herbivores consume the photoautotrophs, so they are dependent on the photoautotrophs for their survival. Carnivores feed on the herbivores, okay, and omnivores can feed on both herbivores and carnivores if necessary. Like some omnivores, such as humans, we consume both herbivores, such as we consume goat meat, sheep meat, okay, and we also consume carnivores, like we eat different kind of seafood, different kind of fish, and most of the fishes are carnivores. So we consume both, and also we consume producers as well. Omnivores consume photoautotrophs as well because fruits, vegetables form an important part of our diet. And the last, but definitely not the least, biotic component is the decomposers or the detrivores. Decomposers are all bacteria, fungi, etc. What they do? Producers, in order to perform photosynthesis, they capture sunlight. They capture sunlight. Okay. And only 10% of the total sunlight that falls on the producers are utilized for photosynthesis. Okay, only 10% of all the sunlight that falls on the producers or the photoautotrophs are utilized for photosynthesis. The rest 90% is radiated back to the atmosphere. Now, due to photosynthesis and respiration, total energy that is produced in the plants when consumed by a herbivore, only 10% of the energy that is trapped inside the photoautotrophs is passed to the herbivores. And when a carnivore consumes a herbivore, of the total energy trapped in the herbivore, only 10% is trapped to the carnivore and the rest is radiated out as heat, as body heat or metabolic heat. Now, what happens? Producers, consumers, they all build up a biomass. We eat and we increase our mass. Okay, so we trap essential vitamins, minerals, nutrients and energy inside our bodies. Now when we die, these bacteria and fungi breaks down our body. They break the complex chemicals that make up our body into simpler substances, and they release that trapped energy back to nature, back to the atmosphere, back to the soil, back to the water, and also they release the carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen that make up our body back to the atmosphere, back to the hydrosphere, back to the lithosphere. So, this important function of mineral recycling is done by the decomposers. So, this is the rough outline of our ecosystem.